The assessment. High observer Nexthal stood motionless before the quantum display, their crystalline form refracting the light of 1,000 stars. The living ship's observation chamber pulsed with a soft bioluminescent glow, matching the rhythm of their growing concern. Before them, a holographic representation of Sol's system rotated slowly, with particular emphasis on the third planet from its star. Impossible, they whispered, though they had verified the data dozens of times. Simply impossible. The door membrane parted with a liquid shimmer as second observer Val Thix entered. High observer, the Council awaits your report. Have you completed your assessment of species designation human? Nexthal's crystalline structure flickered with anxiety patterns. I have, though I doubt they will believe it. In all my cycles of observation, I have never encountered anything like them. The hologram zoomed in on Earth, highlighting thousands of points across its surface. Military installations, research centers, and most worryingly, the extensive network of underground bunkers that honeycomb the planet's crust. Look at this, Val Thix. They've been preparing for war since before they split the atom. Before they reached their moon. Before they even knew we existed. Nexthal manipulated the display, showing historical data. Every major technological advancement they've made has been driven by conflict, yet they haven't destroyed themselves. They've grown stronger. Val Thix moved closer to the display, their crystalline form vibrating with curiosity. Many species advance through conflict. The Confederation's archives contain numerous examples. Not like this, Nexthal interrupted. Other species fight over resources, territory, ideology. Humans. They paused, searching for the right words. Humans fight to become better. Each conflict drives innovation at an unprecedented rate. Look at their atmospheric vehicle development. The display shifted to show the progression of human flight technology. From first powered flight to breaking the sound barrier, 44 solar cycles. From there to reaching their moon, only 22 more. The standard developmental curve for such advances should take at least 10 times longer. Val Thix's crystal structure darkened with concern. Perhaps they discovered ancient technology, or received assistance from an unknown spacefaring race. No. Nexthal's response was immediate. They did this entirely on their own. And that's what terrifies me. They don't follow normal technological progression paths. When faced with a problem, they don't just solve it. They create multiple solutions, then improve upon them all simultaneously. The display shifted again, showing human military installations. Unlike the ordered, efficient bases of Confederation species, human military facilities seemed almost chaotic in their layout and design. Underground bunkers connected to surface structures in seemingly random patterns. Weapons testing ranges showed evidence of bizarre, unconventional experiments. They're not just preparing for war, Nexthal continued. They're preparing for every conceivable type of war, and quite a few inconceivable ones. Look at these training facilities. They maintain primitive projectile weapon ranges alongside directed energy weapon testing sites. They practice with antiquated explosive devices while developing quantum entanglement communication. They refuse to abandon any technology that might give them an advantage. Val Thix moved closer to examine the details, but they haven't achieved faster-than-light travel. By Confederation standards, they're barely a spacefaring civilization. That's what concerns me most. Nexthal manipulated the display once more, showing human research facilities. Their development isn't linear. While some civilizations focus solely on advancing their strongest technologies, humans maintain development across all fields simultaneously. They're still improving their primitive combustion engines, even as they experiment with zero-point energy. The display shifted to show population centers, each with their accompanying defense systems. And look at this, they've maintained a constant state of military readiness for generations. Not against each other, though they still engage in internal conflicts. No, these preparations are clearly designed to defend against an external threat. Us. They've been expecting contact with alien life, and they've been preparing for it to be hostile. How could they know? Valfix asked, their crystal structure pulsing with confusion. They didn't know. They imagined. Their entertainment media is filled with scenarios of alien contact, ranging from peaceful to apocalyptic. They'd been mentally preparing their entire species for this moment for generations, and in doing so, they've developed defensive and offensive capabilities that, Nexthal paused, their crystal structure dimming with worry, that we don't fully understand. Valfix absorbed this information in silence before speaking. The Council will want to proceed with standard contact protocols. They always do. Standard protocols assume standard responses, Nexthal replied. There is nothing standard about humans. Look at their response to environmental challenges. The display showed various human habitations, from Arctic research stations to underground desert cities. Most species adapt themselves to their environment. Humans adapt their environment to themselves. They thrive in conditions that should be lethal. The display returned to its original view of Earth, now highlighting the planet's network of satellites, space stations, and lunar bases. They're already expanding beyond their cradle world, establishing colonies in the harshest conditions imaginable, simply because they can. Because someone said it was impossible, and they took that as a challenge. What do you recommend? Valfix asked. Nexthal was quiet for a long moment, their crystal structure cycling through various colors as they considered the implications. The Council needs to understand that if we proceed with standard contact protocols, if we attempt to force humanity to join the Confederation as we have with other pre-FTL civilizations, we risk something unprecedented. They turned to face their colleague directly. We risk them winning. Valfix's crystal structure paled. Winning. Against the entire Confederation. They don't even have faster-than-light capability. They don't need it. Not yet. Look at their defensive preparations. Nexthal highlighted the complex network of planetary and orbital defenses. They're ready for an invasion. They'd been ready for generations. And these weapons systems, some of them operate on principles our scientists don't fully understand. They've developed technologies we never considered because they don't follow our logical progression paths. The display zoomed out to show the entire solar system. They've seeded their entire system with hidden installations, automated defense platforms, and who knows what else. If we attempt to force them into the Confederation, we'll be fighting an enemy who has spent generations preparing for exactly this scenario. An enemy who treats impossible situations as challenges to be overcome. An enemy who doesn't just adapt to overcome obstacles, but becomes stronger because of them. What are you suggesting? Valfix asked, their tone suggesting they already knew the answer. I'm suggesting we do something the Confederation has never done before, Nexthal replied. I'm suggesting we approach them as equals, not as primitive beings to be uplifted or conquered, but as a species who has earned the right to join the galactic community on their own terms. The Council will never agree. Then the Council needs to understand what failure would mean. If we attempt to subjugate humanity and fail, we won't just lose an opportunity to peacefully incorporate them into the Confederation. We'll be creating exactly the kind of external threat they've been preparing to fight for generations. And based on their historical patterns, such a conflict would only make them stronger. Nexthal turned back to the display, watching as the holographic Earth continued its eternal rotation. We need to understand something fundamental about humans. They don't think like us. They don't react like us. Where we see limitations, they see challenges. Where we see impossibilities, they see goals. And most importantly, where we see primitive technology, they see backup plans. The Council meets in 1 hour, Valfix reminded them. You'll need to present your findings. Yes, Nexthal agreed, their crystal structure settling into a determined configuration. And I need to make them understand that we're not discovering a primitive civilization today. We're making first contact with a species that could either become our greatest ally or our most formidable adversary. The choice is ours. As Valfix left the observation chamber, Nexthal continued to study the display, watching the countless points of light that represented human activity across their world and throughout their solar system. Each light represented a potential innovation, a possible breakthrough, another step in humanity's relentless march toward the stars. They had to make the Council understand. Standard protocols wouldn't work here. Humanity wasn't waiting to be discovered. They were waiting to be challenged. And if the Confederation made the wrong choice, they would certainly provide that challenge. And based on everything Nexthal had observed about human nature, that was the one thing they should avoid at all costs. First contact. The emergency session of the United Earth Defense Council was called at 300 hours UTC. In underground chambers beneath Geneva, military leaders and civilian authorities from every major nation gathered, their faces illuminated by the harsh light of holographic displays, showing an object decelerating at the edge of the solar system. General Sarah Chen, commander of Earth's Combined Space Defense Force, stood before the assembled leaders, her expression grave. The object appeared exactly 47 minutes ago, dropping out of what appears to be some form of faster-than-light travel. It's currently decelerating on a trajectory that will bring it into high Earth orbit within 6 hours. Just one ship? Asked the Russian Federation's representative, his voice thick with skepticism. We're tracking 3 more identical signatures approaching from different vectors, Chen replied, manipulating the holographic display to show the approaching vessels. Classic containment formation. They're not trying to hide their approach. The UN Secretary-General leaned forward. Have they attempted communication? Not yet. Chen highlighted several points in Earth's orbit, but they'll be in range of our outer defense grid in approximately 2 hours. Protocol shadow is already in effect. Around the table, faces hardened with determination. Protocol shadow had been established decades ago, a comprehensive response plan for first contact scenarios. Every military installation on Earth and throughout the solar system was now at maximum readiness, but under strict orders to take no offensive action without explicit authorization. What do we know about the vessels? Asked the Chinese representative. Chen expanded the image of the approaching ships. They're massive, each approximately 3 kilometers in length. Energy readings are unusual. Our sensors indicate they're partially organic in nature. Their technology is far beyond anything we've encountered, but she paused, allowing herself a slight smile. They're not as stealthy as they think they are. Our quantum detection grid is picking up fluctuations in their drive systems that suggest they're running at well below maximum capacity. They're being deliberately obvious, the Indian representative observed. A show of force, or a gesture of transparency, suggested Dr. James Martinez, head of the Xenological Relations Department. They want us to see them coming. No surprise attack, no hidden agenda. At least that's one interpretation. The chamber's main display suddenly flashed red. Chen's hand flew to her earpiece. We're receiving a transmission. All frequencies, all formats. Put it through, ordered the Secretary-General. The holographic display shifted, showing a being unlike anything they had expected. It appeared to be composed of living crystal, its form refracting light in complex patterns that seemed to shift with its movements. When it spoke, its voice was a synthesis of harmonic tones that the translation systems took several seconds to decode. People of Earth, I am High Observer Nexthal of the Galactic Confederation. We come in peace and observation. The chamber remained silent as the message continued. Your civilization has been monitored since you achieved nuclear capability. You have developed in unexpected ways. We request a formal meeting with your world's leadership to discuss your place in the galactic community. Dr. Martinez was already analyzing the transmission. Fascinating choice of words. Not offer or grant, but discuss. They're being carefully diplomatic. Or they're being cautious, Chen countered. Our outer defense grid just picked up intensive scanning attempts from all 4 vessels. They're trying to map our capabilities. The crystalline being's message continued. We will maintain our current position until you respond. We acknowledge your defensive preparations and assure you we intend no hostile action." As the transmission ended, the chamber erupted in discussion. The Secretary General raised a hand for silence. "General Chen, your assessment." "They're powerful, but they're also nervous," Chen replied confidently. "Those ships have been making minor course corrections that suggest they're staying just outside the maximum range of what they think our weapons can do. They've detected some of our defense capabilities, but not all of them. And they're being very careful not to appear threatening while simultaneously demonstrating their technological superiority. A delicate balancing act," Martinez agreed. "They want to talk, but they're also clearly assessing us. The question is, what are they looking for?" The Australian representative spoke up. "We've been preparing for this moment for generations. Every nation on Earth has contingency plans. The bunkers, the hidden facilities, the distributed defense networks. We're as ready as we'll ever be." "But ready for what?" the Brazilian representative asked. "War, diplomacy, integration into their society." "All of the above," Chen answered firmly. "That's always been the plan. Be prepared for anything, because we had no way of knowing what first contact would bring." She brought up a new display showing Earth's defense readiness status. Every system is operational. Mobile platforms are deployed. The lunar and Mars bases are at full alert, but maintaining civilian operation profiles as planned. "And Project Prometheus?" asked the Russian representative quietly. Chen's expression remained neutral. "Ready, but invisible, just as designed." The Secretary General stood, commanding the attention of the room. "We've planned for this moment. We've trained for it. Every person on this planet knows what's at stake. The question now is, how do we respond?" Dr. Martinez cleared his throat. "Their approach suggests they're used to dealing with pre-FTL civilizations, but something about us has made them cautious. They're following a protocol, but they're also deviating from it. I suggest we do the same. Be diplomatic, but demonstrate that we're not going to be passive participants in this interaction." "Agreed," Chen said. "We show them enough of our capabilities to make it clear we're not helpless, but we keep our most advanced systems hidden. Standard protocol shadow operations." The Secretary General nodded. "Very well. Let's draft our response. We'll agree to a meeting, but not in orbit. They want to come to Earth. They do it on our terms." "Neutral location," suggested the Chinese representative. "The Antarctic Conference Center. It's civilian but protected, and the approach vectors are well covered by our southern defense grid. And it demonstrates our ability to operate in extreme environments," Martinez added. "A subtle reminder that we're more capable than they might assume." The Secretary General turned to Chen. "General, begin Phase 2 of Protocol Shadow. I want our visible forces at high alert, but non-aggressive posture. Dr. Martinez, prepare the diplomatic team. Everyone else, notify your governments. As of this moment, we are implementing the First Contact Unified Response Protocol." As the council members began their tasks, Chen studied the holographic images of the alien vessels. They were impressive, certainly, but she couldn't shake the feeling that this elaborate dance of diplomacy and demonstration was leading to something none of them had truly prepared for. In the next 6 hours, humanity would take its first steps onto the galactic stage. The only question was whether those steps would lead to peace, war, or something entirely unexpected. But one thing was certain. Humanity would face whatever came next the same way they had faced every other challenge in their history, with determination, innovation, and the absolute refusal to back down. Above them, in the cold vacuum of space, 4 crystalline ships maintained their careful position, while their crews watched and wondered if they were making first contact with future allies or with the most dangerous species they had ever encountered. The answer, though none of them knew it yet, was both. The ultimatum. The Antarctic Conference Center's main chamber had been transformed for this historic meeting. The usual rows of seats were replaced with 2 semicircular arrangements facing each other across a central space. On one side sat the Earth delegation, a carefully chosen mix of military and civilian leaders. Opposite them, the crystalline forms of the Confederation representatives cast prismatic patterns across the walls. High Observer Nexthal's warning to the Confederation Council had gone unheeded. Instead of approaching humans as equals, the Council had insisted on following standard protocols, with minor modifications for safety. Now, watching the humans across the chamber, Nexthal could sense the tension building like a storm. Supreme Counselor Zixtal's crystalline form pulsed with authority as they addressed the human delegation. Your achievements are impressive for a pre-FTL civilization. The Confederation offers you the opportunity to join our community. We will guide your development, share appropriate technologies, and ensure your peaceful integration into galactic society. General Chen, sitting beside the Secretary General, maintained a neutral expression, but her hand tightened almost imperceptibly on her datapad. The alien scans hadn't detected the quantum core beneath the conference center, nor the advanced sensors woven into the very walls around them. Every word, every movement, every energy fluctuation from the Confederation delegates was being analyzed in real time. The Secretary General's response was measured. We appreciate the Confederation's offer. However, we have some concerns about the terms guide and appropriate technologies. Could you elaborate? Zixtal's crystal structure shifted to a more formal configuration. Of course, the Confederation has vast experience integrating pre-FTL civilizations. We provide carefully controlled access to advanced technologies based on demonstrated readiness. Your military installations are concerning. We would require their decommissioning as a show of peaceful intent. Dr. Martinez, monitoring the aliens' subtle crystalline changes through specialized sensors, noticed patterns indicating surprise when nobody in the Earth delegation reacted with the expected alarm or submission. I see, the Secretary General replied calmly. And if we decline this requirement? The temperature in the room seemed to drop as Zixtal's form darkened. The Confederation's protocols are not optional. We have maintained galactic peace for millennia by ensuring proper technological and social development of emerging civilizations. General Chen spoke for the first time, her voice carrying an edge that made several Confederation crystals flicker. You're suggesting we disarm ourselves before receiving any guarantees of protection. Based on protocols we had no part in creating. Your weapons are primitive by our standards, another Confederation member stated dismissively. They offer no real protection against advanced civilizations. Our guidance is for your own safety. Chen smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. Interesting assumption. Nexthal vibrated with anxiety, recognizing the warning signs they had tried to convey to the Council. The humans weren't responding with the usual mix of fear and awe. Instead, they seemed almost amused. The Secretary General leaned forward. Perhaps we should be clear about our position. Earth is not seeking admission to the Confederation under current terms. We are open to peaceful relations and mutual exchange of knowledge, but we will not surrender our right to self-defense. Zixtal's crystal structure flashed with patterns that the human sensors identified as indignation and disbelief. You misunderstand. This is not a negotiation. The Confederation's protocols. No, the Secretary General interrupted, still perfectly calm. You misunderstand. We are not refusing your offer out of ignorance or pride. We are declining it because it is inadequate. The chamber fell silent. Even the air circulation systems seemed to hold their breath. Inadequate. Zixtal's harmonic voice carried tones of both outrage and confusion. Yes, Chen confirmed, activating her datapad. The chamber's holographic systems, far more advanced than the Confederation had believed possible, sprang to life, displaying a three-dimensional map of Earth's solar system. You've been scanning our defense capabilities since you arrived, but you've only found what we wanted you to find. Countless new points of light appeared throughout the display, hidden installations, stealth platforms, and weapon systems that had remained invisible to Confederation scans. The crystalline delegates vibrated with shock as they realized the true extent of human preparedness. Impossible, one of them whispered. Your technology level shouldn't allow. Shouldn't allow what? Chen asked. Quantum shielding. Zero-point energy weapons, or perhaps you're referring to our gravitic manipulation systems. With each word, more hidden human capabilities revealed themselves in the display. You assumed our technology would follow your standard development patterns. That was your first mistake. Nexthal moved forward, their crystal structure pulsing with urgent patterns. Council, this is what I warned you about. They don't think like other species. They don't develop like other species, and they certainly don't respond to threats like other species. The Secretary General nodded appreciatively at Nexthal. Your assessment of humanity was quite accurate, High Observer. Perhaps if your council had heeded your warnings, we could have avoided this awkward moment. Zixtal's form had darkened to an ominous shade. You dare to threaten the Confederation? Not at all, the Secretary General replied. We are simply making our position clear. Humanity has no interest in being uplifted according to your protocols. We have developed our own technologies, our own solutions, our own path to the stars. We are willing to join the galactic community as equals, to share knowledge and culture, to trade and cooperate. But we will not be subjugated. You leave us no choice, Zixtal declared, rising to their full height. If you will not accept guidance willingly, the Confederation will have to demonstrate why our protocols exist. You have 24 of your hours to reconsider your position. After that, we will take steps to ensure compliance. General Chen's smile widened slightly. I was hoping you'd say that. She pressed another control on her datapad. Throughout the solar system, hidden quantum sensors detected new ships emerging from FTL, the Confederation's military force, arriving right on schedule. But as they emerged, they found themselves surrounded by previously invisible human defense platforms, their weapons already locked on and tracking. In the conference chamber, the holographic display updated to show the new tactical situation. The Confederation vessels, despite their superior technology, were caught in a web of human defenses they hadn't believed possible. 24 hours, Chen asked quietly. That works for us. It'll give our outer system forces time to get into position. You see, we've been preparing for this meeting for a very long time. We knew that sooner or later we'd encounter a civilization that would try to force us to conform to their standards. That's why we developed technologies in secret, why we maintained multiple parallel research paths, why we never stopped improving any weapon or defense system that might prove useful. The Secretary General stood, addressing the shocked Confederation delegates. You have 24 hours to reconsider your position. We suggest you use them wisely. Humanity is prepared for either outcome, peace or war. The choice, as they say, is yours. As the human delegation rose to leave, Nexthal turned to the Supreme Counselor, their crystalline form pulsing with urgent patterns. Council, we must reconsider. These humans, they're not like the others. They'd been preparing for this confrontation since before they knew we existed, and I fear we've just given them exactly the challenge they've been waiting for. In the orbital planes above, Confederation ships hung motionless, surrounded by human weapons they'd never seen before, facing a choice they'd never had to make in all their millennia of expansion. For the first time in their history, the Confederation had to decide whether to back down or face a war with an enemy who had spent generations preparing for exactly this moment. The 24-hour countdown had begun. Unconventional warfare. 23 hours into the ultimatum, Project Prometheus went live. Deep beneath the lunar surface, in a facility that didn't officially exist, Dr. Elena Rodriguez watched as her life's work activated. Quantum processors that had been running simulations for decades now shifted to active combat protocols. The artificial intelligence she had helped create wasn't truly sentient. Humanity had been careful about that, but it was probably the most sophisticated tactical analysis system ever created. All Prometheus nodes online, she reported, her voice steady despite the weight of the moment. Neural networks are syncing with defense grids. Quantum entanglement communication is stable. General Chen's voice came through the quantum encrypted channel from Earth Command. Status of the Confederation fleet. Still holding position. Their numbers have grown to 37 capital ships, but they're maintaining defensive formations. They know they're surrounded, but they don't understand how badly. The Confederation had spent the last 23 hours bringing in reinforcements, confident that their superior technology would overwhelm any pre-FTL civilization once they showed their true strength. They hadn't realized they were playing directly into humanity's plans. Time, Chen asked. 58 minutes until their ultimatum expires, Rodriguez replied, watching as Prometheus analyzed every subtle movement of the Confederation fleet. They're positioning for a simultaneous strike on our major defense installations. At least, the ones they can detect. And the others? Rodriguez allowed herself a small smile. Ghost Protocol is working perfectly. They haven't detected any of our quantum-shifted platforms. As far as they can tell, we're defending purely in normal space. In high orbit, Confederation Admiral Kexexi surveyed the tactical display with growing unease. The humans had revealed significant hidden capabilities, yes, but their visible defense grid still seemed primitive compared to Confederation technology. The energy readings, the material compositions, even their formation patterns all suggested a civilization barely beyond planetary defense capabilities. So why were his instincts screaming that something was wrong? Launch final warning protocols, he ordered. A series of warning shots designed to demonstrate overwhelming force without causing damage. Standard procedure for encouraging compliance from resistant civilizations. The energy beams lanced out from multiple Confederation vessels simultaneously and passed straight through their targets. Holograms, Kexexi demanded, his crystalline form flickering with alarm. No, Admiral, his sensor officer replied. The platforms are there, but they're shifting in and out of normal space. Our weapons can't maintain lock. On Earth, in the deep underground command center, General Chen watched the Confederation's probing attacks with satisfaction. They took the bait. Prometheus, initiate Phase 2. The AI system responded instantly. Throughout the solar system, hidden quantum platforms shifted slightly out of phase with normal spacetime, a technology humanity had developed after decades of research into the Philadelphia experiment myths. The Confederation's sensors could detect them, but their weapons, designed to work in normal space, simply passed through. Impossible, Admiral Kexexi whispered as his tactical display filled with new contacts. The humans weren't just using quantum shifting for defense. They had weapons platforms hidden in plain sight, scattered throughout his fleet's formation. Admiral, his second-in-command called out urgently, we're detecting power buildups in the human platforms, but the energy signatures don't match any known weapon type. Launch full attack pattern, Kexexi ordered. All ships, execute standard conquest protocol. The Confederation fleet erupted with energy as their most powerful weapons discharged simultaneously. The space around Earth lit up like a new sun. In the Lunar Command Center, Rodriguez watched calmly as Prometheus executed its counter-strategies. They're using standard attack patterns, just like the simulations predicted. The Confederation's attack should have overwhelmed any normal defensive screen. Instead, their energy weapons encountered layers of quantum-shifted shields, each operating slightly out of phase with normal spacetime. The massive energy discharge was scattered, redirected, and in some cases, reflected back at their own ships. Now, Chen ordered. Humanity's response was anything but standard. Weapons that had been developed in secret, tested in hidden facilities, and refined over generations activated simultaneously. Gravity manipulation fields disrupted the Confederation ships' drive systems. Quantum torpedoes phased through their shields before rematerializing inside their hulls. Electromagnetic pulses specifically tuned to affect their crystalline technology rippled through their formations. Admiral Kexexi watched in horror as his fleet's carefully coordinated attack dissolved into chaos. Human weapons and tactics didn't follow any known protocols. They weren't fighting according to any established doctrine. Each ship, each weapons platform seemed to be using different strategies, different technologies, making it impossible to form an effective counter-strategy. Admiral, his second reported, crystal structure pulsing with panic. 3 ships have gone silent. 5 more reporting critical systems failure. We're detecting some kind of. The humans are using their quantum shifting technology offensively. They're materializing drone platforms inside our shield perimeters. In the Lunar Command Center, Rodriguez monitored Prometheus's battle analysis. The Confederation fleet is breaking formation. Their command and control structure is hierarchical. They're waiting for orders, trying to determine the appropriate protocol for this situation. They won't find one, Chen replied grimly. We made sure of that. Initiate Phase 3. New signals began broadcasting on all frequencies, a combination of electromagnetic, quantum, and gravimetric communications that Prometheus had crafted specifically to interfere with Confederation systems. Their crystalline technology, so advanced in many ways, had never been designed to handle this kind of multispectral assault. This isn't possible, Admiral Kexexi declared as his fleet's coordination continued to break down. They're pre-FTL. They shouldn't have these capabilities. These technologies don't follow any logical development pattern. That's because we developed them all. Chen's voice came through on their command frequency, demonstrating yet another security breach. Every weapon, every defense, every strategy you're facing was developed specifically to counter advanced civilizations like yours. We've been preparing for this moment since we first looked up at the stars and realized we might not be alone. The Admiral's tactical display was a chaos of impossible readings. Human ships phasing in and out of normal space, weapons that ignored known laws of physics, defense systems that adapted to each attack. Why? He demanded. Why prepare for war before even making contact? Because of this moment, Chen replied. Because we knew that sooner or later we'd encounter a civilization that would try to force us to conform to their standards. And we decided long ago that humanity would never submit to tyranny, no matter how advanced or well-intentioned it claimed to be. Rodriguez watched as Prometheus calculated the next series of attacks. Their fleet cohesion is breaking down completely. Quantum entanglement readings suggest their crystalline command structures are approaching harmonic disruption. Full spectrum assault, Chen ordered. Show them exactly what humanity can do when we're challenged. Across the solar system, humanity's full arsenal was unleashed. Technologies that violated Confederation understanding of physics. Weapons that shouldn't have been possible for a pre-FTL civilization. Strategies that defied conventional military logic. Each ship, each platform using different combinations of attacks, presenting an ever-changing puzzle that the Confederation's standardized response protocols couldn't solve. In less than an hour, the mighty Confederation fleet was in full retreat. Their carefully planned conquest turned into a desperate withdrawal. Almost a third of their ships had been disabled, their crews evacuated by human vessels that could phase through their hull plating as if it didn't exist. As the last Confederation ships prepared for emergency FTL departure, Admiral Kexexi received one final transmission from Earth. Remember this, Chen's voice came through clearly. Humanity doesn't want war. We don't want conquest. We simply want to be left alone to develop in our own way, at our own pace. But if anyone tries to force us to conform to their standards, to submit to their authority, well, you've seen what happens. The Confederation fleet vanished into FTL, leaving behind disabled ships, scattered debris, and a clear message. Humanity would not be conquered. They had spent generations preparing for this moment, developing technologies and strategies specifically designed to counter advanced civilizations. In the Lunar Command Center, Rodriguez began powering down the Prometheus system. Think they got the message? They better have, Chen replied. Because if they come back, we'll have to show them what we can really do. Above Earth, the quantum defense platforms shifted back into normal space, their true capabilities once again hidden from view. Humanity had revealed enough to make their point, but not everything. After all, there might be other civilizations out there, other challenges to face. and humanity would be ready for them all. A new understanding. The Confederation Council chamber had never been so quiet. The crystalline forms of the highest-ranking members of galactic civilization sat in stunned silence as they reviewed the battle data for the 100th time. High Observer Nexthal stood before them, their structure pulsing with a mix of vindication and concern. As I warned the Council, they began, humanity is unlike any species we have encountered. The battle in the Sol system wasn't just a defeat, it was a fundamental challenge to everything we thought we knew about technological development and species advancement. Supreme Counselor Zixel's form had darkened considerably since the battle. How did they develop these technologies without faster-than-light capability? It defies all known development patterns. That's precisely what makes them unique, Nexthal replied. They don't follow patterns. They don't develop technology in a linear fashion. They pursue multiple paths simultaneously, often in secret, often in ways that seem illogical until the moment they're needed. The holographic display showed recordings from the battle, human weapons and defenses that violated what the Confederation had thought were immutable laws of physics, ships phasing in and out of normal space, quantum-shifted weapons platforms, gravity manipulation fields that shouldn't have been possible for their level of development. Most concerning, another council member noted, is their artificial intelligence system, the one they call Prometheus. Its tactical adaptability exceeded anything in our experience. Because it was designed specifically to counter advanced civilizations, Nexthal explained, everything they revealed in that battle was developed for exactly that purpose, and I suspect we still haven't seen their full capabilities. On Earth, a different kind of meeting was taking place. The United Earth Defense Council had convened in their underground chamber, but this time the mood was thoughtful rather than tense. The Confederation fleet has withdrawn beyond the Kuiper Belt, General Chen reported. Long-range quantum sensors show no sign of reinforcements. It appears they're reassessing their approach. As they should, Dr. Martinez added. Their entire philosophy of galactic civilization was just appended. A pre-FTL species not only rejected their authority, but demonstrated technological capabilities that challenged their understanding of physics. The Secretary General nodded. And what of the diplomatic channels? We've received a request for communication from High Observer Nexthal, Martins replied. They're different from the others, more willing to consider new possibilities. They might be our best chance for establishing a meaningful dialogue. In the quantum processors of Project Prometheus, Elena Rodriguez watched as new data patterns emerge. The AI system wasn't just analyzing battle tactics anymore. It was processing cultural information, diplomatic signals, trying to understand the crystalline beings who had so dramatically entered human consciousness. Their entire civilization is built on order, she reported. Predictable patterns, established protocols, linear development. We didn't just defeat their fleet. We challenged their entire worldview. Back in the Confederation Council chamber, Nexthal was making a similar point. We must adapt. Humanity has shown us that there are other paths to advancement, other ways of thinking about technology and civilization. If we persist in trying to force them to conform to our standards, we risk not just military defeat, but missing an opportunity to learn and grow. Learn? From a pre-FTL species, one council member scoffed. Yes, Nexthal insisted. Look at how they approach problems. Where we see established paths, they see infinite possibilities. Where we maintain order, they embrace chaos as a source of innovation. Their quantum shifting technology alone represents an entirely new approach to physics that our scientists are still struggling to understand. In Earth orbit, automated repair systems were clearing debris from the battle while new defense platforms took position, some visible, others hidden in quantum shift, and undoubtedly many more that even the Confederation's best sensors couldn't detect. Humanity wasn't taking any chances, but they were also extending an olive branch. Send the message, the Secretary General ordered. Throughout the solar system, quantum communication arrays activated, sending a clear signal to the retreating Confederation fleet. It wasn't a threat or a demand. It was an invitation. People of the Confederation. The message began. What you witnessed was not our desire for war, but our determination to remain free. We reject your current protocols not because we reject cooperation, but because we believe there is a better way. You offer to guide our development, but perhaps we can learn from each other instead. In the council chamber, the message continued to play. Your civilization has achieved wonders we can barely imagine. You've created peace and stability across thousands of worlds. But you've also become rigid, bound by protocols that may no longer serve their original purpose. We offer something different. Chaos, creativity, innovation without limits. They dare to lecture us? A council member bristled. They dare to challenge us to be better, Nexthal corrected, just as they challenged themselves. The human message concluded. We are ready for either peace or war. We've demonstrated our capacity for both. The choice now lies with you. Will you treat with us as equals, ready to learn as well as teach? Or will you cling to protocols that have just been proven inadequate? We await your response. In the depths of space, crystalline ships hung motionless as their commanders contemplated choices they'd never had to make before. The humans had defeated their military might not through superior numbers or even superior technology, but through sheer unpredictability and innovative thinking. The humans have a saying, Nexthal told the council. Necessity is the mother of invention. They saw the necessity of defending themselves against advanced civilizations long before they met us, and so they invented ways to do it, whether or not those ways fit our understanding of how technology should develop. Finally, Supreme Counselor Zixtal spoke. Their crystalline form had taken on a new configuration, one that suggested deep thought, and possibly, just possibly, the beginning of change. Perhaps, they said slowly, it is time for the Confederation to establish new protocols, not to control or guide, but to learn and grow. The humans have shown us that there are other paths to the stars, other ways of thinking about civilization itself. On Earth, in space stations and hidden bunkers, in quantum research labs and military installations, humanity waited. They had revealed enough of their capabilities to make their point, but not so much that they couldn't surprise any future aggressors. They had demonstrated their willingness to fight while extending a hand in peace. The choice now lay with the Confederation. Would they adapt, learn to deal with a species that didn't fit their careful categories and protocols? Or would they force humanity to demonstrate even more of the capabilities they had developed during their long wait for this moment? In the quantum processors of Project Prometheus, possibilities multiplied. In the crystalline networks of Confederation ships, certainties crumbled and reformed. And in the vast space between stars, two very different civilizations faced the challenge of finding a new way forward. The age of protocols was ending. The age of possibilities was about to begin. As High Observer Nexthal had warned from the start, humanity was unlike anything the galaxy had seen before. They had prepared for war while hoping for peace, developed in secret while watching the stars, and created their own path to the future while others followed established routes. The question was no longer whether humanity would join the galactic community, but how that community would change to accommodate a species that had turned preparation for war into an art form, paranoia into innovation, and the fear of the unknown into the drive to overcome any challenge. The stars watched in silence as two civilizations stood at a crossroads, and somewhere in the quantum shadows of Earth's defense grid, hidden weapons powered down while communication arrays powered up, ready for either outcome. Humanity had made its point. Now they waited to see if the galaxy was ready to learn from it.